Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill is one of the most recognizable figures of the 20th century. For many people, he is remembered as the brave British Prime Minister who stood firm against Nazi Germany during the darkest hours of the Second World War. His speeches inspired millions. His determination symbolized resistance, and his leadership helped shape the modern world. Yet, behind this heroic image lies a deeply complex and controversial man. Churchill was not only a defender of freedom, but also a supporter of empire, not only a champion of democracy, but also an advocate of policies that caused great suffering. His life is a story of greatness, failure, courage, arrogance, and contradiction. Churchill was born in 1874 into an aristocratic family. His father, Lord Randolph Churchill, was a prominent politician, and his mother, Jenny Jerome, came from a wealthy American family. Despite this privileged background, Churchill's childhood was not a happy one. His parents were distant, and he struggled at school, especially with discipline. Teachers often described him as stubborn and difficult, traits that would follow him throughout his life. However, even as a boy, Churchill showed a deep interest in history, literature, and military affairs. After graduating from the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst, Churchill began his career as an army officer and war correspondent. He traveled widely, reporting from conflicts in Cuba, India, Sudan, and South Africa. These experiences shaped his worldview and helped build his public reputation. During the Boer War, he was captured by enemy forces and later escaped dramatically from a prison camp. This daring escape made him a national hero and launched his political career. In 1900, Churchill entered Parliament. Over the next decades, he changed political parties twice, a move that earned him a reputation as opportunistic and unreliable. Nevertheless, he quickly became known as a talented speaker and a bold thinker. He supported social reforms such as unemployment insurance and workers' rights, showing a surprisingly progressive side. At the same time, he firmly believed in the British Empire and saw it as a force for order and civilization. A belief that today is widely criticized. Churchill's early political career was marked by both success and failure. One of his greatest failures came during the First World War. As First Lord of the Admiralty, he was one of the main architects of the Gallipoli campaign, a disastrous military operation against the Ottoman Empire. The campaign ended in massive losses and humiliation for Britain and its allies. Churchill was forced to resign and was widely blamed for the disaster. For many politicians, this would have ended a career. For Churchill, it became a painful lesson and a period of deep personal struggle. After Gallipoli, Churchill served briefly on the front lines, then slowly returned to political life. However, during the 1930s, he found himself increasingly isolated. While many British leaders hoped to avoid another war at any cost, Churchill warned repeatedly about the growing threat of Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. He criticized the policy of appeasement, arguing that giving in to dictators would only encourage aggression. At the time, these views were unpopular, and Churchill was seen by many as a warmonger stuck in the past. Everything changed in 1940, after the fall of France. Britain stood almost alone against Nazi Germany. Neville Chamberlain resigned, and Churchill became Prime Minister. This moment defined his legacy. Britain faced invasion, cities were bombed daily, and defeat seemed possible. In this dark hour, Churchill's words became weapons. His speeches, such as "We shall fight on the beaches" and "Their finest hour," did not promise easy victory. Instead, they offered honesty, courage, and defiance. He acknowledged suffering, but refused to accept surrender. Churchill's leadership during the war made him a symbol of resistance worldwide. He worked closely with Allied leaders, including Franklin D. Roosevelt and Joseph Stalin, despite deep ideological differences. His ability to maintain alliances was crucial to defeating Nazi Germany. For many, Churchill became the voice of freedom standing against tyranny. However, even during the war, Churchill's actions were not without controversy. One of the most debated issues is the Bengal famine of 1943, in which millions of people in British-controlled India died from starvation. Critics argue that Churchill's government failed to act adequately and that his attitudes toward Indians were racist and dismissive. Some of his recorded statements show deep prejudice, reflecting a belief in British superiority that was common in his era but deeply troubling today. Churchill's views on empire remain one of the most controversial aspects of his legacy. He strongly opposed Indian independence and believed that the British Empire was essential for global stability. While he saw himself as defending order, others see his policies as oppressive and harmful. This contradiction is central to understanding Churchill. He fought fiercely for freedom in Europe, but denied it to millions living under colonial rule. After the war ended in 1945, Churchill was widely expected to win the general election. Instead, the British people voted him out of office. They respected his wartime leadership, but wanted social reform, economic rebuilding, and change. This defeat deeply shocked Churchill, but it also demonstrated the strength of British democracy, something he himself had defended. Churchill later returned as Prime Minister in the 1950s, though his second term was far less dramatic. In his later years, he focused more on writing and reflection. He received the Nobel Prize in Literature for his historical works and speeches, recognizing his mastery of language. His writing helped shape how the world remembered the war and himself. Winston Churchill died in 1965 and was given a state funeral, an honor reserved for the greatest national figures. To this day, statues of him stand in cities around the world, and his words are quoted in times of crisis. Yet, debates about his legacy continue. Some see him as a hero who saved Europe from fascism. Others view him as a symbol of imperialism and inequality. The truth lies somewhere in between. Churchill was neither a flawless hero nor a simple villain. He was a man shaped by his time, his class, and his beliefs. His courage and leadership during the Second World War were extraordinary and arguably changed the course of history. At the same time, his support for empire and his dismissive attitudes toward colonized peoples caused real harm. Studying Churchill reminds us that history is complex. Great leaders can make both noble and terrible choices. Remembering only the hero or only the oppressor oversimplifies the past. Winston Churchill's life challenges us to look honestly at history, to recognize achievements without ignoring suffering, and to understand that human beings, even the most powerful ones, are full of contradictions. In the end, Churchill's story is not just about one man. It is about power, responsibility, and the difficult moral choices leaders face in times of crisis. His legacy forces us to ask an important question: can someone be both a defender of freedom and a symbol of oppression? The answer, as Churchill's life shows, is often uncomfortable but necessary to confront.